JakePaul had just returned from a long international press tour, jet-lagged, drained, and desperate for a quiet night away from flashing cameras and non-stop interviews. It was nearly midnight when he walked into the grand lobby of the Royal Crest Hotel, one of the most luxurious five-star properties in the city. Marble floors gleamed, chandelier droplets glittered like stars, and the soft piano music in the background almost promised peace. Jake thought, finally, a few hours of calm. But instead of greeting him with the polite warmth this place was known for, the front desk manager looked up with a stiff, judgmental expression. He scanned Jake's casual travel wear, hoodie, joggers, backpack, and instantly formed his opinion. Without even asking for his name or reservation, he spoke in a cold, dismissive tone. "Sorry, we're fully booked. No rooms available." Jake blinked, confused. It was unusual, but he stayed polite. "No worries, I can wait, or if you can check again, I just need one room for the night." The manager didn't budge. "I said we're full. We don't accept walk-ins after 11 p.m. You can try somewhere, less premium." His eyes said more than his words, "You don't belong here." A few guests sitting in the lounge paused their conversations, sensing tension. One couple whispered, recognizing Jake quietly. "That's JakePaul, isn't he a celebrity?" But the manager either didn't hear or didn't care. Instead, he leaned forward with irritation, as if Jake was wasting his time. "Sir, please understand, this hotel caters to a certain level of clientele. You may try the budget and down the street." Jake's jaw tightened, not in anger, but disappointment. He had been judged countless times in life for things that didn't define him: clothes, attitude, internet fame. Tonight it wasn't the lack of a room that bothered him, but the lack of basic respect. Still, he refused to lose his temper. "All right," Jake said quietly, "if that's your policy, I respect it." But something in his calm tone, something in the way he didn't bend or break, made a few people lean closer. They didn't know it yet, but Jake's next move would turn the entire hotel upside down. The lobby of Royal Crest Hotel was calm on the surface, but underneath, tension rippled like a silent storm. JakePaul stood quietly at the front desk, the weight of exhaustion still on his face, yet his posture remained straight, stable, composed, and surprisingly gentle for someone used to cameras, belts, and bright lights. The manager, Mr. Harrow, adjusted his tie with unnecessary arrogance, like he needed to remind the entire lobby who was in control. His tone sharpened now, no longer pretending courtesy. "I'll say it again," he repeated, enunciating each word as if speaking to someone beneath him, "we have no rooms. And even if we did, this establishment maintains a certain standard. Our guests expect a particular environment." Jake understood perfectly. The man wasn't speaking about availability, he was speaking about class, image, assumptions. He wasn't saying no room, he was saying no place for someone like you. A bellboy nearby, no older than 20, lowered his gaze in discomfort. He recognized Jake immediately but stayed silent. Staff weren't allowed to contradict management, not even when the situation was painfully wrong. Jake kept his voice soft. "I understand your rules. But I just came off a 14-hour flight, and I have nowhere else booked. If there's any chance, even a smaller room, I'll take it." Harrow almost chuckled. "You don't seem to understand. This is not a hostel, not a roadside motel. This is Royal Crest. We host ambassadors, CEOs, top-class athletes." He paused, not realizing the irony. Across the lobby, a group of tourists slowly began recording. Not blatantly, just phones half-raised, curiosity controlling their fingers. A woman whispered to her husband, "That's definitely JakePaul. Why on earth is the manager treating him like that?" Jake heard, but didn't react. He didn't believe fame should be weaponized just because someone lacked basic respect. Public humiliation wasn't a tool he enjoyed using. He always remembered where he started, who he was before the belts and headlines. But the manager leaned in with finality, lowering his voice to a condescending whisper, loud enough for humiliation, quiet enough to fake professionalism. Our brand cannot risk its image. You look disheveled. And this setting is refined. We simply don't have space for you. Jake's eyes didn't harden, but his silence did. The couple watching exchanged looks. A businessman in the corner shifted uncomfortably. Staff members who recognized Jake but feared speaking up exchanged knowing glances. Jake finally exhaled slowly, the kind of breath someone takes not to calm anger, but to control disappointment. Sir, he said evenly, you judged me before asking who I am, or why I'm here. Harrow smiled thinly, victorious. That is correct. And I stand by it. This level of property isn't accessible to walk-ins, casual wear. Jake didn't need to look down. He knew exactly what he was wearing: hoodie, sweatpants, unlaced trainers. Comfort over appearance. Human over celebrity. One of the staff members, a young receptionist named Lena, stepped forward timidly. Mr. Harrow, maybe if we just check the system once. Enough, Harrow snapped. You're not authorized to reconsider confirmed refusals. The girl backed away, cheeks flushed. Jake offered her a small, reassuring nod, no blame, only gratitude. Harrow turned his back, dismissing Jake entirely. Jake spoke again, calmly, not demanding, not pleading. I appreciate your time. But I do want to remind you that treating someone based on assumption usually ends poorly. Harrow didn't look back. Not when I'm in charge. Jake finally pulled out his phone, not aggressively, not dramatically. Just a simple, composed action, like someone making a casual call. The lobby fell silent. A few more guests started filming, realizing something bigger was forming. Not a confrontation, no shouting, no slamming fists, but power wrapped in absolute calm. Jake dialed a number. 1 ring. 2. Then. Hey, yeah, I just arrived. At your hotel. A pause. No trouble. Just a misunderstanding. Could you come to the lobby for a second? He ended the call gently, no smirk, no pride. The bellboy swallowed. Sir, did you just call? Jake simply nodded. Outside the glass doors, headlights appeared, sleek, jet black, unmistakably expensive. A chauffeur stepped out, followed by a second vehicle behind it. Doors open in sync. From the shadows of tinted windows, a man in a tailored suit emerged, presence heavy, energy commanding, not security. Not PR. Not an assistant. The owner of Royal Crest Hotel himself. The staff froze. Lena's eyes widened. The tourists recording lowered their phones instinctively, like witnessing royalty. Harrow stiffened, color draining from his face. Mr. Aldridge? The owner strode forward with certainty, ignoring everyone except the one person he came for. Jake. He opened his arms in a warm, familiar greeting. Jake! You should have called earlier, I would have had the penthouse ready. The entire lobby fell into stunned silence. Harrow's world crashed in a single heartbeat. Recognition. Guilt. Fear. All at once. Jake didn't look triumphant. He simply returned the greeting with quiet gratitude. It's fine. I didn't want special treatment. Just fairness. And in that moment, without raising his voice, without flexing fame, without demanding revenge, JakePaul shifted the entire energy of the room. Every guest. Every staff member. Every camera now held up with trembling realization. They finally understood. He wasn't denied a room. He was denied respect. The moment Mr. Aldridge, the owner of Royal Crest Hotel, embraced JakePaul, the lobby transformed, from judgment to shock, from whispers to absolute silence. The same guests who moments ago assumed Jake was just another backpack traveler now watched with widened eyes. The staff who were afraid to interfere now stood like statues, waiting for the storm to hit the arrogant manager. Owner's voice was warm, firm, and loud enough to echo. "Your family here, Jake. This building practically has your signature in the investor ledger." Harrow's jaw dropped, the fake superiority draining from his face like color washed from marble. He stumbled a step back. "Investor, ledger," he stuttered. Everyone heard it. Jake didn't need to brag. He didn't need to announce himself. He belonged here more than anyone else in the room. Jake nodded lightly, almost embarrassed by the attention. "I wasn't here to pull rank. I just needed a room. That's all." A murmur ran through the crowd. "He's polite even after that insult?" That manager completely misjudged him. Harrow tried recovering, voice trembling. "Mr. Aldridge, I was simply following procedure. I didn't know." Aldridge turned to him sharply, leader mode activated. "Procedure doesn't involve shaming guests, Harrow. Or profiling them by their clothes." The line hit harder than any punch Jake ever threw. Jake looked around, his eyes stopping on the young receptionist, Lena, the only one who tried to help him earlier. She stood frozen, torn between fear and relief. Jake gave her a small appreciative nod again, and this time she smiled, a quiet, grateful smile. Aldridge continued, voice slicing through tension. "You denied a paying guest, publicly embarrassed him, and spoke as if this hotel belonged to you." Harrow tried again. "I swear, it was just a misunderstanding. If I had known." "That's the point," Aldridge cut in. "Respect shouldn't depend on who someone is. It should depend on who you are." The lobby collectively exhaled. Viewers watching this, tell me honestly. If you were Jake in this exact moment, would you stay silent like he did, or confront the manager on the spot? Comment below, silent or speak up. Back in the lobby, Jake stepped in gently, not to save pride, but to save dignity, Harrow's dignity. "Mr. Aldridge, I don't want anyone punished. I know days can be stressful. Maybe he just assumed I wasn't staying here." Aldridge softened at Jake's humility. "That doesn't justify judgment. You've helped build this place. You represent excellence, and you deserve respect walking in." It was the first time the room realized something bigger. Jake wasn't just a celebrity guest. He was one of the silent partners, one of the reasons this marble, chandelier luxury even existed. Harrow swallowed hard. "Mr. Paul, I deeply apologize." Jake didn't rush to accept. He let the apology breathe in the air, echoing like a necessary correction. Then he simply nodded. "Thank you. I appreciate that." The owner clapped his hands once, commanding staff direction. "Presidential suite. Now, make sure it's prepared with full service." Every staff member jolted into motion. Bellboys rolled up carts, reception screens clicked to life, even the pianist, sensing victory, shifted into a lighter tune. Lena approached nervously, handing Jake the polished card key. We hope you enjoy your stay, Mr. Paul." Jake took the key with a disarming smile. "You can just call me Jake." She blushed, nodded, and disappeared behind the desk, this time proud, not ashamed. Phones that were recording lowered slowly. People weren't watching scandal anymore, they were watching character. As Jake walked toward the elevator, the crowd instinctively parted, like respect forming a pathway. There were no cheers, no dramatic applause, but a silent acknowledgement that carried more weight than noise ever could. Right before he stepped inside, Jake paused and turned slightly, addressing everyone, not just staff, not just guests, but the moment itself. "Judgment based on appearance is the real room that's always overbooked," he said softly. And then, he smiled. A tired, human, relieved smile. The elevator doors closed, leaving behind shocked guests, an owner and controller manager learning humility, and a lobby that now understood Jake Paul was far more than a name on the internet. He was a reminder. Power doesn't need to shout. Real stature doesn't need labels. And respect Must be given before recognition. The elevator doors slid shut, but the weight of what had happened lingered like perfume in the marble air of the Royal Crest lobby. Guests who had pretended not to stare were now openly discussing it in hushed but excited whispers. That was JakePaul? The JakePaul? Can you believe the manager talked to him like that? He's literally part owner of this hotel. How embarrassing. Harrow, the manager, stood frozen, eyes lowered, shoulders drooped, his earlier arrogance evaporated completely. He wasn't just embarrassed, he was exposed. The precise, controlled environment he'd curated, the polished voice, the selective politeness, the elitist pride, had shattered publicly. Aldridge, the owner, placed a hand on Harrow's shoulder, not gently, but not cruelly either. This isn't about Jake's fame, he said, his voice composed and surgical. It's about how many people you must have treated this way without them having the power to call someone like me. Those words struck harder than any lecture. Jake didn't need revenge. Reality itself handled it. Meanwhile, the corridor outside the presidential suite glowed gold under soft lighting. 2 attendants opened the door for Jake, bowing subtly. Jake thanked them, without entitlement, without expecting the red carpet, just as a tired traveler grateful for rest. Inside, a panoramic skyline greeted him. Floor-to-ceiling windows revealed a glittering city. The room wasn't just luxurious, it was cinema-level grand. Velvet couches, glass tables, fresh roses, gourmet fruit, handwritten welcome card. He ran his fingers through his hair and exhaled. Could have gone smoother, he muttered with a tired grin, but downstairs, the fallout continued. Lena, the young receptionist, watched Harrow pace behind the desk. She had seen him be stern before, even dismissive, but no moment had ever stripped his authority down to the bone like tonight. She gathered her courage and approached him softly. "Sir, for what it's worth, I think Jake forgave you before you even apologized." Harrow looked up, eyes hollow. "Forgiveness doesn't erase habit." She blinked. "That's why habits can change." He stared at her, really stared, as if hearing humanity for the first time in years instead of controlling it. Upstairs, Jake stretched out on the couch. He could have slept instantly, but something pulled him back to the moment. It wasn't the humiliation he faced. Jake had been booed in stadiums louder than any hotel lobby could ever be. It was how quietly it transformed. Fame had nothing to do with the lesson delivered tonight. Respect had everything. His phone buzzed. "Aldridge. Rest well. Breakfast tomorrow. Just us. No cameras." Jake smiled. Genuine. Warm. He appreciated that. The owner didn't treat him like content or headline, just a person. He texted back. "Thanks. And go easy on Harrow. He just needs perspective, not punishment." Across the cityscape glow, Jake reflected on the path that brought him here. Not boxing belts. Not YouTube records. But the climb from being dismissed, misunderstood, doubted, again and again. Suddenly, a knock echoed softly. Jake opened the door to find Lena, holding a tray, tea, honey, fresh lemon. "I just thought," she said nervously, "you looked really tired." And sometimes tea helps more than room service menus. Jake's smile widened. "You didn't have to." "I know," she replied, and for the first time tonight, someone meant the words with sincerity. He accepted the tray. "Thank you, Lena." "Really?" Before she left, she whispered something she hadn't dared to say downstairs. "You handled everything beautifully. Most people with your status would have shouted, posted, gone viral on purpose." Jake chuckled softly. "I don't want viral moments. I want real ones." She nodded, absorbing the weight of that truth, and slipped away. Downstairs, Harrow approached Aldridge one last time for the night. "Sir," he said quietly, "I will revisit how I train staff. I think I forgot that hospitality isn't about filtering people. It's about serving them." Aldridge nodded. Tonight wasn't a punishment. It was a mirror. As the clocks ticked past midnight, the hotel felt different. The chandeliers still sparkled, the marble still gleamed, but something fundamental had shifted beneath all that shine. Royal Crest didn't just look luxurious anymore. Tonight, it learned how to be human. And in Suite 88, Jake sipped tea in silence, grateful not for the room upgrade or special treatment, but for the reminder that power doesn't come from wealth, or fame, or penthouse keys. Power comes from restraint. From choosing grace when humiliation is handed to you like a room denial slip. Morning sunlight spilled over the skyline like gold lace as JakePaul woke in the presidential suite, the night's tension replaced by quiet clarity. He didn't sleep perfectly, too many thoughts, too many echoes of the lobby moment, but he rested with peace, not pride. Downstairs, however, peace was a stranger. By 7:45 a.m., hotel staff were whispering across hallways like wind moving through curtains. Did you see the owner greet him? The manager refused a partner. Jake acted so calm. I wouldn't have. And then came the inevitable. Phones buzzed. Screens lit up. Someone's quiet lobby recording from last night had leaked, not wild, not clickbait, just the raw moment of dignity. It wasn't Jake posting it. Wasn't Aldridge. It was a random guest, captioned simply. We judge too fast. Always. 5 minutes later. 15,000 views. 15 minutes later. 128,000. By the time breakfast service opened. 1.6 million. The hotel was no longer just a location, it was a headline waiting to happen. Jake sat at the long breakfast table with Aldridge. No cameras, no media, just two people and steaming coffee. Aldridge studied him with appreciation. You know this is already everywhere, right? Trending in 5 countries. Jake cut a slice of toast calmly. I didn't upload anything. That's what makes it powerful, Aldridge replied. You let grace speak. And people heard it. Jake shrugged lightly. Everyone's been judged at least once. Some more than others. Across the dining hall, staff peeked discreetly. Guests whispered with awareness, not excitement, but respect. Jake didn't make noise. He made impact. Then Harrow entered. The manager looked like he hadn't slept at all. His crisp posture from last night had deflated. He approached slowly, holding a written letter in his trembling hand. Mr. Paul, he began, voice low, I know public apology is expected. I know the internet is tearing me apart. I know what last night did, and I understand why. Jake looked up, eyes curious, not hostile, but I don't want to apologize because I fear consequences, Harrow continued. I want to apologize because I realized I've been protecting the wrong thing. Jake folded his hands. And what is that? My pride as gatekeeper, Harrow said quietly. A hotel manager should protect comfort, safety, dignity, not image and hierarchy. The dining hall stilled, forks paused midair. Harrow continued, voice cracking from honesty instead of arrogance. Last night, I didn't deny a room. I denied humanity. To you, and probably many others before you. Aldridge leaned back, silently impressed. This wasn't a forced corporate apology. This was a man facing himself. Jake spoke softly. People don't remember policy. They remember tone. How you made them feel. Harrow nodded. And I made you feel lesser. Jake didn't deny it. He didn't inflate it. We all have bad days. But when bad days turn into practiced behavior, people get hurt quietly. Harrow's eyes glistened, not for pity, but realization. I would like to correct this. Not for publicity. Not for you. But because I don't want to become the face of exclusion in a place built for hospitality. Jake accepted that, not the apology, but the growth. Before the echo died, 3 reporters appeared at the entrance, flashes ready, mics poised. Jake! Just one statement. Is the manager being fired? Are you pressing charges or making a public complaint? Aldridge stood to block them, but Jake touched his arm gently. It's okay. The cameras aimed. The world waited for a headline, for fury, for ego, for outrage. Jake gave them none of it. Last night wasn't about power or fame, he said, voice steady. It was about judgment, how fast we use it, how easy it becomes, and how little it reflects actual truth. Click. Click. Flash. This hotel didn't fail me, Jake continued. One moment did. And one moment does not define a place, a person, or a future. Reporters blinked, caught off guard by maturity instead of explosion. So, a journalist asked hesitantly, to confirm, you're not seeking removal of management? No boycott? No scandal? Jake smiled faintly. When someone learns, punishing them doesn't teach more. It only satisfies spectators. The flashlight stilled. Questions fell silent. Jake stood, shook Harrow's hand, not theatrically, not for cameras, just human to human. The room absorbed it like light. Real strength is loudest when it chooses quiet. As Jake exited the dining hall, phones buzzed again, not with scandal, but with respect. A new title emerged online. He could have destroyed him. Instead, he taught him. For the first time in a long time, the internet didn't celebrate drama. It admired dignity. The banquet hall doors finally opened, and Jake stepped inside, escorted by hotel staff and the very security guard who had earlier blocked him. The room was enormous, chandeliers blazing, polished marble floors gleaming like mirrors, and tables dressed in gold and ivory. Celebrities, CEOs, athletes, politicians, and influencers filled the space. Everyone was dressed in couture, sipping champagne, networking and posing for photographers. As Jake entered, a hush began to ripple through the hall. Not because of his fame, but because of what had just happened outside. Whispers circulated quickly. That's him, the guy the manager refused to let in. I heard he handled it like a gentleman. Yeah, he didn't yell, didn't push, didn't even flex his money. Jake walked with his shoulders steady, expression modest, eyes soft. He wasn't here to prove superiority, he was here because he had been invited with honor, and that dignity couldn't be stripped at a hotel door. The event host rushed across the room, almost panicked. Mr. Paul. Thank goodness you're here. We've been waiting for you backstage. The award, it's nearly time. Jake blinked, confused. Award? He thought he was simply attending as a guest speaker. Before he could ask anything, the host guided him past velvet curtains toward a private side room. Inside waited the organizers, a few sponsors, and the hotel director, who looked pale, humiliated, and unable to lift his eyes. Jake, one sponsor said softly, we heard what happened in the lobby. Let me say first, we truly apologize. This should never have happened. Jake replied calmly, mistakes happen. How people fix them matters more. No anger. No grudge. No public blast of ego. The hotel director finally stepped forward, hands trembling as he extended a written apology. We misjudged you, he said, voice cracking. And not because of your fame, but because we failed to treat every guest with equality. That is unforgivable. I hope you'll allow us to correct this. Jake accepted the paper, shook his hand, and said only one line. Just treat the next person better than you treated me. Those words hit harder than public revenge ever could. Moments later, Jake was led silently toward the stage entrance. The lights beyond the curtain glared bright, music rising. The host's voice echoed through the speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's humanitarian excellence recognition goes to a man whose contributions have helped rebuild schools, support young athletes, and provide healthcare access in low-income communities. Mr. JakePaul. Yes. The same JakePaul they didn't want to let into the hotel. The crowd erupted. Cheers, claps, a standing ovation. Cameras flashed violently, flooding the stage and strobe. Jake stepped up to the podium, the golden award in his hands, and paused. He looked out at the faces, some embarrassed, some admiring, some simply stunned. When he finally spoke, his voice carried both humility and steel. Sometimes, doors don't open for you, not because you don't belong there, but because someone is too blind to see who you really are. But if you lose your calm, you lose your character, and that's the real test. So tonight, I accept this not as proof of status, but as a reminder that respect should never be reserved only for those recognized by fame. Silence fell. Powerful. Deep. Unfiltered. Then applause thundered again, louder this time, echoing against every chandelier. In a corner of the room stood the manager who had earlier dismissed him with a cold "no room available." Now, his eyes glistened with regret. Not because Jake was famous, he already knew that. But because Jake showed a level of grace he couldn't have imagined. Even Jake's assistant, who had been furious earlier, wiped her eyes. Backstage, after the ceremony, reporters crowded around. "Jake, when the manager insulted you, what kept you calm? How did you remain silent instead of walking out? Did you expect an award tonight?" Jake smiled politely and answered only this: "Every person you meet is fighting a battle you don't see. So I try to stay human, even when others forget to be." That line trended online within minutes. And somewhere in the lobby downstairs, where the scene began, employees whispered the story again and again, except now with awe, not prejudgment. Jake didn't just enter the hotel. He entered with dignity, exited with respect, and left a lesson carved into every soul present. By the next morning, the entire world already knew. Clips from the hotel lobby, the awkward denial, Jake's calm responses, and the explosive moment he walked onto stage to receive a humanitarian award, all of it had gone viral. News outlets used headlines like, "Hotel refuses entry to philanthropist JakePaul, his graceful reaction wins internet." The manager said no. But Jake's response became a lesson in respect. Fame isn't character, JakePaul proves it. No shouting. No revenge speech. No meltdown. Just dignity. And that is what shocked people more than anything. TikTok edits rolled with emotional music, YouTubers broke down the interaction frame by frame, commentators praised his restraint, and celebrities reposted clips with captions. "This is how you handle disrespect. Character speaks louder than status." Meanwhile, the hotel PR team scrambled. A public apology was issued, citing staff error, bias, and urgent retraining protocols. The hotel director himself posted a video. "We failed to treat a human being with basic respect. Not a celebrity. A human. It will not happen again." Jake didn't respond publicly. He didn't need to. Because millions already did it for him. Comment sections exploded. He kept his cool, that's real strength. You don't need to yell to win. Just stay grounded. Respect is for everyone, not just the visible elite. Later that day, Jake sat quietly in his car, finally exhaling. His assistant turned to him, softer now, her frustration from the night before replaced with admiration. "You could have called out the manager. You could have embarrassed him. You could have flipped the hotel upside down." Jake nodded slightly, eyes watching traffic drift by. "I know. But winning isn't the same as shaming someone. If you break someone just because you can, then you lose a part of yourself." Those words hung in the air like truth carved in stone. His phone buzzed, another alert. This time from a youth foundation he sponsors. A simple message. "The kids watched what you did last night. They learned more from your patience than any speech you've ever given." Jake smiled, the quiet kind that comes not from pride but purpose. That's what mattered. Not applause. Not cameras. Not trending hashtags. But the fact that someone out there, a kid, a bystander, a hotel employee, now understood that status doesn't give permission to crush others, and humility doesn't mean weakness. The world kept talking for days, then weeks. Brands invited him for keynotes, podcasts asked for emotional discussions on public conduct, charity organizations praised him as a model of calm leadership. But Jake stayed exactly the same. Still grounded. Still deliberate. Still human, before logging off social media entirely for the night, he posted just one final message, simple and universal. Respect isn't earned through power, it's practiced through patience. No hashtags. No PR polish. No dramatic emojis. Just truth. And that truth rippled far beyond that hotel lobby, into boardrooms, into customer service policies, into everyday interactions where people now paused before judging someone by clothes, posture, or assumption. JakePaul didn't just walk into a five-star hotel. He walked into a moment that exposed bias, demanded humility, and showed the world that the strongest people don't roar, they rise quietly.